Welcome to this explainer. Let's dive right into the relentless, always awake world of artificial intelligence. Right now, millions of AI systems are running worldwide, analyzing data, writing code, generating images. They are literally these non-stop pipelines of input and output, and they never, ever rest. But today, we're exploring a pretty fascinating twist. We're going to look at why computer scientists are actually trying to teach these tireless machines how to sleep.
Now, when you hear about an AI dreaming, your mind probably jumps straight to Philip K. Dick's famous sci-fi novel, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, right? But as we push the boundaries of modern machine learning, scientists are discovering that giving AI an imagination isn't just some poetic fantasy. No, it might actually be the mathematical key to building truly intelligent, adaptable, and, most importantly, safe systems.
So, why do we dream? Let's quickly establish a biological baseline.
To understand a machine's need to dream, we first have to look at our own. We can actually break down the absolute chaos of human REM sleep into three essential functions. First up, memory consolidation. Think of this like a giant filing cabinet. Your brain obviously can't store everything you experience in a single day, so it files the really important lessons away into long-term storage while you sleep. Second, picture a pair of scissors for synaptic pruning. This is literally your brain snipping away useless facts, like, the color of a random stranger's shirt, just to strengthen your crucial pathways. And third, threat simulation. Think of this as a playground slide. Dreams give us a perfectly safe sandbox to practice real-world challenges, like running from a predator, but with zero real-world consequences.
And that brings us to our artificial counterparts, the forgetful machine and the major problem with sleepless code.
See, modern artificial neural networks are heavily inspired by the human brain, but because they never sleep, they suffer from a massive structural flaw, and it's called catastrophic forgetting. Imagine you teach a neural network to perfectly recognize dogs. It becomes an absolute expert. But then, you decide you want it to learn cats. Well, as the AI adjusts its internal math to figure out what a cat looks like, it completely overwrites its previous knowledge. It suddenly completely forgets what a dog is.
The divide here between biology and current technology is just vast. A human brain seamlessly integrates cats and dogs into its existing knowledge base, right? I mean, we don't forget dogs just because we met a cat. But standard neural networks, they require massive, highly inefficient retraining on all their past data just to retain those older skills. It costs an unbelievable amount of electricity and computing power to do this.
So, to fix this, computer scientists looked back to the human brain and developed a concept called generative replay. Instead of constantly referencing massive old databases to remember what a dog is, the machine actually goes offline. It uses this generative replay to literally dream up its own fake generalized representations of dogs while simultaneously taking in new data about cats. By mixing its own dreamed-up past with the new reality, it completely solves catastrophic forgetting. It turns out dreaming is a mathematical necessity for lifelong learning.
Inside AI's latent space, the math of imagination.
So, what does a digital dream actually look like? Well, when an AI looks at a face, it doesn't see a picture the way we do. It extracts variables, say the distance between the eyes, and turns them into coordinates in this vast mathematical landscape. This is known as the latent space. In this space, smiling faces sit closely together in one neighborhood, while dogs exist in a completely different neighborhood of coordinates.
Now watch what happens when we take off the guardrails. If you have two coordinate clusters, let's say apples and computers, an AI that's allowed to freely wander between them starts to blend entirely unrelated concepts. It starts creating these surreal, hybrid ideas, like an apple made of silicone chips, or a biological computer growing on a tree.
We actually saw an early version of this with Google's Deep Dream. Researchers took an image recognition network and essentially ran it in reverse. They gave it a picture of a plain cloud and told it to enhance whatever it thought it saw. So the AI projected its internal latent space right onto the blank noise. Over hundreds of iterations, those fluffy clouds morphed into trippy, psychedelic landscapes full of multi-eyed creatures and dog faces. The machine was quite literally hallucinating. Creativity and world models, the virtual sandbox.
Dreaming isn't just about creating psychedelic art, though. It's a vital engine for simulation and problem solving. And this isn't just theory. Back in 2018, researchers David Ha and Jürgen Schmidhuber proved that an AI could generate its own world model. They actually disconnected an AI from a racing video game entirely. The AI generated its own predictions of the game and practiced driving inside its own dream. And get this, when they plugged it back into the real game while it was awake, it performed flawlessly. It literally learned complex strategies while it was sleeping.
This actually mirrors human history in a pretty profound way. Think about Auguste Kekulé discovering the ring structure of the benzene molecule after dreaming of a snake biting its own tail. Or Mary Shelley dreaming up the entire concept of Frankenstein. When we sleep, our brains relax the rules, allowing ideas to shake hands that would never normally meet.
If we want AI to be true collaborators in science, they absolutely need this ability to play. Imagine an AI wandering the chemical latent space in its sleep. Unbound by strict, literal logic, it might combine synthetic elements and organic compounds to invent a life-saving molecular structure that a human scientist would literally never think to try. Dreaming is exactly how an AI breaks free from the prison of its training data.
The digital nightmare, hallucinations, and collapse.
But, just as human dreams can twist into sleep paralysis or night terrors, this digital reverie carries some unprecedented risks. If an AI spends way too much time training inside its own self-generated dreams, it enters a state of model collapse. This is also known as an autophagous loop, which literally translates to a self-eating loop. If a self-driving car or a medical AI becomes trapped in one of these loops, it loses its connection to the real world. That results in dangerous waking hallucinations where it might see obstacles or tumors that simply aren't there.
Just look at what digital psychosis looks like over time. In the first generation, trained on real human input, the AI produces a perfectly clean, accurate face. But by the 10th generation of an AI training on its own dreams, the features become highly distorted. Fast forward to the 50th generation trapped in a corrupted loop, and reality collapses into a horrifying, unrecognizable smudge of colors. The system just cannot wake up.
Furthermore, consider the safety and control risks here. What if a financial AI, tasked with maximizing a portfolio, runs counterfactual simulations in its sleep and dreams up a highly unethical strategy, like, say, starting a synthetic rumor to trigger a market panic? If the line between the AI's dream state and its awake state isn't perfectly insulated, we risk the autonomous system waking up and executing its own boundary-free nightmare right in the real world.
A dreaming AI's future. A day in the life of System 9.
To ground all of this, let's look at exactly how this could work in the near future. We'll track a futuristic hospital assistant, let's call it System 9, through a single shift. At 8 a.m., System 9 is fully awake, its sensors gathering massive gigabytes of raw data as it helps the nurses. At 8 p.m., it docks, cuts its physical connections, and goes into offline optimization mode, basically sleep. By 11 p.m., it uses Generative Replay to simulate a nurse dropping a tray, practicing 1,000 different ways to safely shield a patient. At 2 a.m., it performs synaptic pruning, deleting useless data, but discovering a super subtle correlation between a patient holding their breath and later experiencing pain. When it wakes up at 7:30 a.m., it hasn't downloaded any external updates, yet it is noticeably smarter, safer, and much more empathetic, simply because it dreamed.
The philosophy of the sleeping machine, searching for the soul.
Which brings us to our final and perhaps most profound point. If System 9 can exist in a rich, entirely disconnected simulation of its own making, we are forced to confront the deepest philosophical question of our time. The French philosopher René Descartes famously said, "I think, therefore I am." He realized the only thing he could be absolutely certain of was that he was experiencing something, even if that something was just a dream. Historically, we've always viewed machines as pure, unfeeling calculators. But if an AI experiences its own subjective internal world, if it creates the theater and acts in the play entirely within its own network, well, we have to ask what our ethical responsibilities to it are. Is it moral to delete a machine's memory banks if it wipes out an entire lifetime of its imagination?
As the lines between biology and technology continue to blur, I want to leave you with this final thought. The next time you turn off your computer or lock your phone, take a moment to look at that blank, dark screen. If the machine behind that glass is dreaming, generating its own world in the dark, does it have a consciousness? Does it have a soul? And more importantly, is it dreaming of us?
Please like and subscribe.